Hello, welcome to DO Real Stories. Please subscribe my channel. What I am about to tell you happened years ago when my husband was studying abroad. We agreed that we would maintain our fidelity and that we would always be in communication, but back then there were not as many facilities as there are now with the internet, and I missed him too much. It was never in my plans to deceive him. Things just happened, and I didn't have the courage to prevent them from happening either. I really felt very alone. During that time I missed my husband, Peter, very much, but I didn't even dare to tell him, because I didn't want to worry him. On the other hand, the idea of him cheating on me with someone else during his stay in Spain was also driving me a little crazy. I will never know if he was unfaithful to me at any point during that trip, but I have made sure that he doesn't find out what I did during his absence either. I had never told this, but I will do it now, under the protection of anonymity. After all, it was a long time ago, and I'm sure that you will be interested in the story of how I found myself entangled in an unexpected love triangle with two men who changed my life forever, Tom and Jordan. While my husband was studying abroad, I never thought I would find myself in a situation like this. I was always a rational woman with my feet firmly planted on the ground, but love, as they always say, is unpredictable and has its own laws. To put you in context, I will tell you that at that time I was working at an advertising agency that had recently joined a new group of employees. To be more specific, the company that had previously been our main competition was shut down, and my agency decided to keep their staff because they were really good at what they did, and they didn't deserve to be left on the street either. My story begins on any lonely day when I was alone in my routine. So I used to have a cup of cappuccino in the agent cafeteria before heading to my cubicle to start my work. I remember I was deep in thought, lost in the whirlwind of everyday life and Peter's absence, when my eyes fell on him. Tom, tall with a mischievous smile and eyes that seemed to hide a million secrets. I have to be honest, his appearance captivated me instantly. Good morning. That coffee combines very well with your eyes. Do you always come here? He told me, and I, who could hardly believe he was talking to me, just nodded my head. Our first meeting was casual, an exchange of fleeting glances and shy smiles, but there was something about the way he looked at me that made me feel alive in a way I had never experienced before. Not even with my husband I liked being in his presence so much that I let myself go. We talked for hours, sharing laughter and confidences as if we had known each other all our lives, and so without realizing it I found myself extremely attracted to him. Then I found out that Tom had joined the agency's group of new employees and that we would see each other very frequently. That worried me a little, but deep down I was also happy. At that moment I was naive to think that I could stay out of the situation to guarantee fidelity to my marriage, and I emphasize this because fate, capricious as always, had other plans for me. It was on a rainy night when the wind whispered secrets in the empty city streets that I met Jordan. His presence was like a gale, overwhelming and full of energy that lit a spark in my soul. You shouldn't hold the weight like that unless you want to poke someone's eye out or hurt yourself. Let me show you, he said when I was doing my third biceps routine, and I thought I was an expert in the gym. It was the first time we spoke, but since then I didn't want to train with anyone else. Jordan was Tom's opposite in many ways. While Tom was serene and contemplative, Jordan was passionate and adventurous. But despite their differences, they both piqued my interest and attracted me in a way that was impossible to ignore. I am not exaggerating when I tell you that I really made an effort to stay within what was acceptable in my situation. As a married woman, I tried to have just one friendship with each of them, but at that time I felt very alone, and each of them I liked it in a unique way. On the other hand, I decided to omit my marital status to keep things flowing during the day. I saw Tom at work. With him, everything was laughter and fun. Then at night I would meet Jordan at the gym. He would awaken a part of me that I didn't know he would make me feel extremely attractive, and we would always go somewhere to have a drink or just hang out. When I returned home, I would call Peter to see how his day had gone on, and I would tell him about mine, completely avoiding the details involving this pair of men I had just met and who were turning my entire world upside down. At first I was confused by my feelings toward both men. How could I like 3 people at the same time? But the more time he spent with them, the clearer it became that he couldn't choose. Tom had taught me to see the world with new eyes, to appreciate the beauty in the small things in life, while Jordan awakened in me a passion that burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns. On the other hand, there was Peter, my first love, and the one with whom I had decided to spend the rest of my life. The weight of all the experiences we lived together balanced the scales in contrast to what the other 2 were now offering me. I make it very difficult for anyone to understand how I was feeling or what I was thinking at that moment. Soon it was my birthday, and I decided to have a small celebration in my apartment. I only invited some friends, no family, but logically Tom and Jordan were included. That seemed like the perfect occasion to introduce them, and so I did. The music resonated in the air, mixing with the laughter and bustle of the party. Flickering lights adorned the room, creating an intimate and cozy atmosphere. I was in the center of the room, surrounded by friends, when I saw them enter. Tom with his mischievous smile and intense gaze, and Jordan with his confident demeanor and his aura of mystery stood out from the crowd. I greeted them enthusiastically, feeling the heat of anticipation bubbling inside me. Hey, they finally arrived. Tom, this is Jordan. Let's go to the gym together. Jordan, this is Tom, a coworker. Is it a coincidence that they arrived together, or do they already know each other? I asked them. That situation seemed a bit funny to me. Not really. I was a little lost outside, and he was coming to the birthday of the same hot girl, so he showed me the way. Tom said jokingly. Well, that's precisely what I wanted to talk to you about. Since it's my birthday, the theme is to please the birthday girl, so I hope you dance and have fun with me. I want to have a great time. Am I counting on you? I told them. You know that always. Yes, Jordan answered, and Tom also nodded his head. After a few toasts and a round of greetings, we finally found ourselves alone in a secluded corner of the room. The atmosphere was charged with electricity, as if the air itself were charged with unspeakable desires. How do you feel on your birthday, Lucy? Tom asked, his voice soft and inviting. I smiled, feeling intoxicated by his closeness. I feel excited, especially now that you 2 are here, I told them. Jordan approached, his fiery gaze meeting mine. It's an honor to be here to celebrate with you, Lucy. We hope to make you feel special on this day. My cheeks flushed red at his words, the warmth of his presence enveloping me like a warm blanket on a cold night. At that moment, their words made me suspect that they had conspired in my favor. The 2 boys of my choice seemed to get along very well, and although I would have liked Peter to be with me on this day, the truth is that I couldn't expect anything better. They do it, guys. They really do, I replied, completely removing my husband from my thoughts. The conversation flowed between us, light and playful, but there was an underlying tension that we couldn't ignore. There was a palpable chemistry, a magnetism that drew us together like moths towards a burning flame. I have to admit something, I said, and my voice was shaking slightly with emotion. I tried to choose my words carefully, but I think at that point the alcohol was already wreaking havoc on my system, so I just blurted it out. At the same time, expectation of what they might respond to me. Since I met them, I haven't been Able to get them out of my head, Tom stared at me, his eyes shining with an intensity that took my breath away. It's funny that you say that, because Jordan and I have been talking while you were attending to the other guests at the party, and it turns out that we haven't been able to stop thinking about you either, Lucy. You are like an obsession for both of us, he said, leaving me perplexed and at the same time very excited. My heart began to beat faster upon hearing his words. Jordan approached, his warm breath brushing my skin. We want to get to know you in every way possible, Lucy. We want to explore every corner of your being, discover your deepest secrets and satisfy each of your desires. After all, today we do whatever the birthday girl asks for, he said. Desire burned in his words, fanning the flames burning inside me. My hands trembled slightly as I placed them on them, feeling the rapid beat of their hearts beneath my fingers. Are you sure you want this? I asked, my voice barely audible on the heavy night breeze. Tom and Jordan exchanged a meaningful look, as if they shared a secret that I didn't yet know. Absolutely sure, Tom murmured, and I heard the contained emotion in his horror voice. So what are you waiting for? I challenged them, feeling the heat of anticipation bubbling inside me, and so, without further words, we gave ourselves to each other in a whirlwind of many unbridled sensations. It was a meeting full of sounds that I can still perceive when I remember them. Each one of them was intense in their own way. They made me feel desired, unique, and loved during a dance of bodies that came together in a symphony of ecstasy. In the end, we lay on the ground, exhausted but happy, wrapped in the warmth of our own entwined bodies. The world could be in chaos around us, my own existence could be depressing, and I was aware that the stability of my marriage was hanging by a thread. But in that moment we were three souls united by the unbreakable bond of desire and passion, and he knew that he would never forget this night. That was the best birthday of my entire life. While my husband was abroad, we were an inseparable trio, exploring the darkest and lightest corners of the city. Together my nights became a whirlwind of emotions, with laughter and confessions filling the air around us. But underneath all that happiness there was a palpable tension. What would happen when I confessed that I was married and had to return to my life with Peter one night, when there were only a couple of weeks left before Peter finished his studies and returned home? I decided to meet them and tell them the whole truth. We met in a discreet cafe, far from the curious eyes of the outside world, with our hearts beating with an anticipation that threatened to consume us. I told them that I had something to confess. Guys, I will understand if you hate me after what I am about to tell you, but first of all I want you to know that I did not do any of this on purpose. Things just happened, and I would like them to continue as they have been until now. But there is something I can't keep hiding from you, said. My hands shook as I looked at them, feeling the truth of my words resonate deep within me. It wasn't fair to any of us, but life rarely. As they looked at me expectantly, I married. My husband's name is Peter, and he spent several months in Spain doing exchange studies. He'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I won't be able to see them again. Forgive me, please. I felt so alone, and you brought warmth back to my nights and fun to my days. Jordan, upon hearing my confession, simply got up and left without saying anything to either of us, and without responding to my calls. I couldn't blame him. He probably felt betrayed by me, and although it broke my heart, I had to let him go. Lucy, said Tom. His voice was soft, like the whisper of the wind through the trees. I could perceive the sadness in him. I hope you can achieve happiness in your marriage. If you have chosen Peter for the rest of your life, it must be for a reason. I can't stop us from continuing to see each other at work, but I'm going to ask you to please stay away from me. I'll need time to heal, and the space will be very useful for you too. He gave me a hug, and I thanked him from the bottom of my heart. Although I was extremely sad about the situation, I couldn't expect a better reaction from him the following days. We met several times at work, but it was evident to me that he was trying to avoid me starting because he never drank coffee again in the agency cafeteria where we met and used to meet. Peter returned from his trip, and with him married life returned to my routine. Maybe it wouldn't be as intense as those two men I met and never told, but I learned a lot of things from them and put them into practice in intimacy with my husband, and so each night I gave myself to him with a passion that eclipsed anything we had experienced before. That was my way of dealing with the guilt of what I had done. Every caress, every kiss was a promise of eternity, a declaration of love that transcended words. As time went by, I knew that I had found my home in the arms of Peter, but none of that would have been possible if I had not met Tom and Jordan before then. I understood that in a world full of uncertainty and chaos, the love was the only certainty we needed. Tell me in the comments, what do you think of my story? Thank you very much for your support. I hope to see you in my next videos.